I can go back in time and redo my hair transplant, there are definitely some things that I do differently. Not because the results are so bad, but because I've learned a lot since I've got it done twice. I know that there are many of you preparing for your first transplant or even recovering from one, but trust me, there are some things I wish that someone told me before I started. So in this video, I'm going to share what I do differently before, right after, and months after the surgery is done, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Amit, and if you don't already know, I got not one but 2 hair transplants done in Istanbul, Turkey from Vera Clinic. Now I've documented my entire journey for both hair transplants. First one, I got 6,100 grafts for my hairline and my mid scalp, and I went back a year later and I got 4,000 grafts done for my crown. And today's results that you see is because of those 2 hair transplants. But along the way, I didn't know what to do at the beginning. So thankfully I've had these 2 experiences and I'm going to try to summarize most of it into a video for you guys. So hopefully if you're going to get a hair transplant, these might help you before you get there. If you have any guidance on getting a hair transplant or looking for some tips on what to do before and after, I've just launched a pre and post-op hair transplant guide on my new website, your go-to resource for everything you need to know about hair transplant preparation and recovery. Check it out through the link in my bio. Definitely consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and keep watching along because you're going to find out more and learn so much more about getting a hair transplant. So let's start with what I do before going for a hair transplant. One of the main things that is really important is making sure you identify the right clinic that you're going to. Back in the day when I started to get my hair transplants, I didn't have that much research on hand. I literally just went online for a couple of days, looked at a few spots, got some recommendations from people, and I decided, hey, I'm gonna go to the one that I selected. Now, the one I went to was Vera Clinic. Thankfully, they were a great clinic to go to because the results that came out were amazing. But I find that a lot of people focus on the before and afters of certain pictures on the clinic websites. I find it more helpful to actually go deeper into that and try to find and locate the actual person who's actually done the hair transplant. That'll give you a bit more of a real life case example rather than just looking at pictures online, because at the end of the day, you never know if certain pictures can be fabricated or edited, or in today's day and age we have AI making different types of images and you just don't know. So it's best to really talk directly to somebody who's had a hair transplant, like me for example, and try to get that insight and try to understand what that clinic actually does. I do have a hair transplant consultation service that I have linked below if you want to talk to me about specifically Vera Clinic or any other clinics. I do have a lot of knowledge on that, so definitely do book some time with me if you want to. But other than that, you can also try different avenues of checking it online. I recently made a video about how ChatGPT lists out the most accurate hair clinics in Turkey at the moment that are actually highly rated for them. So definitely check that video out as well if you're interested. But as I said, doing your research and trying to find the right clinic with the right doctors, with the right surgeons is really important before getting your hair transplant done. The next thing I do is prepare my body and my scalp for the hair transplant. I didn't realize this at the beginning, but there are a lot of restrictions that you have to follow before getting your hair transplant. So one example is eating healthy. Having a clean and healthy diet really helps the recovery phase after you get your hair transplant. If you're eating too many sugary things or salty things, it will affect your blood pressure and eventually lower the amount of blood flow in your scalp, which in turn ends up having a slower recovery process. Nobody really tells you these things, but the clinics usually do send you some information prior to getting your hair transplant. It's always good to be prepared much more in advance. Or else once you end up going to the hair transplant clinic and you say, oh, I just had a bunch of coffee or I've just had a bunch of McDonald's, it's not really gonna be a good outcome for your recovery phase when you get your hair transplant done. You should definitely cut down on certain things like smoking, alcohol, and even caffeine a week before your hair transplant, because if you don't, like I mentioned, all of that's going to affect your recovery phase. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And if you are someone who drinks heavily or smokes heavily, just try to reduce that well in advance so by the time you get to your hair transplant, it'll feel a little more natural for you. After my first transplant, I realized that I really wanted to get everything done at one go. When I got to the clinic the first time, I initially spoke to the doctor and I said, hey, I want everything to be covered at one time. But truth be told is that you're most likely not going to be able to do that, especially if you have an extensive amount of hair loss. For my example, I was practically bald. I didn't have any hair on the top of my head. My crown was completely empty. So going in, like I said, I was hoping that they could cover all of it at one sitting, so because I really didn't want to come all the way back for a second transplant. But the reality was that it wasn't as safe of a procedure to do everything at once, so it was more advised for me to come back a second time a year after. That goes for anybody who's also has a really high level of hair loss. If you're at a Norwood level 5, 6, or 7, you're most likely going to have to come back for a second surgery. So that's something to also be very mindful of, because a lot of people, they think that when they go there, one and done, you're good for life. The reality is that you might have to come back for a second one, and it's always best to be mentally prepared for that. Another thing, before my hair transplant, I realized that I didn't have to be on Minoxidil or Finasteride at all. This is something that I learned quite late after my hair transplant, but basically for the doctors, when they are taking you on as a patient, they want to see your scalp at its worst. They don't want to see you applying any sort of supplements or remedies that are helping your hair grow. They want to see how bad it can be, so that eventually when they end up doing the transplant, they can add more grafts in areas that will basically help future-proof your scalp, hopefully in avoidance of you going for a second hair transplant. If you're on the meds and you're going for a hair transplant, take a break from it for at least 2 weeks beforehand, and then when you get to the transplant clinic, you can tell them that you've been off of it for a while, and you can start it right back once you get your hair transplant done. I used to think if I don't touch anything on my scalp, it's all going to heal properly, but that's not entirely true. Gentle cleaning actually helps the scalp even more than you think, and those first 12 days are crucial when trying to clean your scalp after your hair transplant. The doctors will instruct you on how to wash your hair properly, but at the same time, when you get back and do it, it's a whole different ball game. You're kind of nervous, you're scared to touch your scalp, and that's totally understandable. I did also make a very in-depth guide of how to wash your hair after your hair transplant. Definitely check that out as well. But at the same time, there are methods that you can use that will help ease that anxiety on your scalp, and as well as offer a softer touch on the areas of your transplant. The key is following the proper instructions, and as long as you can do that, your scalp will be clean and ready for that growth phase. So the other thing that I definitely learned after my hair transplant was that I didn't moisturize as much as I should have. Usually the clinics will provide you a type of moisturizer right after you get your hair transplant for you to apply just before you wash your scalp as well. I used to think that it was not as necessary because I just didn't want to have so much of moisturizer on my head, and also it was very difficult to wash off after that. But the truth is that your scalp gets really dry during those first 12 days, and it's really important to continuously moisturize. So when you actually end up removing the scabs, your head is nice and clean and moisturized overall. So don't underestimate the power of moisturizer on your scalp, because it is really, really handy in the future. It definitely helped reduce the redness and the flakiness all over my scalp, so it really helped in the long run. Easily one of the most scariest parts of your recovery phase of your hair transplant is when you start getting into that shock loss phase. Now everyone complains about it, it's not very pretty for a lot of people, and you end up being basically an ugly duckling. Something that I wish I knew from before was that it was all going to be alright, because at the time when I started losing my hair after I had done my transplant in the 3rd month, I started panicking, and I thought to myself, was this really worth it? It basically felt as if I lost even more hair than before, but with enough patience and perseverance, my hair started to grow month by month right after that. It's definitely a mental challenge for someone who goes through a hair transplant, because the shock loss phase really brings up anxiety levels onto a whole different scale. It's not for the weak, but honestly, at the same time, as long as you have the patience and you're using the right aftercare, you're going to get your hair growing sooner than later. It's something that's completely normal to go through, and all your scalp is doing is resetting itself so that the new transplanted hairs can grow out and eventually get you the final look you're after. Another thing that's really important to know after a hair transplant is that Finasteride and Minoxidil are key factors in making your hair grow out as best as possible. Now, we all know Finasteride has certain side effects that are not so welcoming for the male body, but at the same time, it does help keep your existing native hairs that you've had on your head. A lot of people in my consultations have asked me if I'm having so much of transplanted hair on my scalp already, which is already DHT resistant, why do I need to take finasteride? The truth is that finasteride still helps save your native hairs, that's fair, but with the combination of minoxidil, it helps retain those new hairs that are growing out as well. Minoxidil helps increase blood flow on your scalp, and when that happens, more and more hair tends to grow over time. You have to be consistent with minoxidil, and if you are, you'll start to see real results. That's how finasteride and minoxidil work hand in hand best together, when you're growing out new hair and you're helping retain it with finasteride. So these two are really important. I wish I knew this way in advance, but I learned this after I got my hair transplant, and luckily I applied it every single day and still do till today. And at the end of the day, I still have a really good head of hair on my head. Now, another thing I wish I knew about after getting a hair transplant was the anxiety levels that you get when you go for a haircut. There's definitely a moment where you're going to be a little scared to cut that new transplanted hair off, but I promise you it's not as it's. The hair does grow back, don't worry, but at the same time, getting that hair cut is going to be a little nerve-wracking, especially the first, because you don't know what to expect. First thing is that they're going to shave areas in your donor area and it's going to be worrying a little bit, but there's a certain time frame that you have to wait for before doing that, and the same goes for your transplant. So make sure you follow the instructions from the clinic when they tell you how many days that you need. But at the same time, when you get that haircut, don't be afraid. Explain to the barber what happened and that you've gotten a hair transplant, and eventually they'll help you and guide you to get the decent haircut that doesn't expose your donor area too much, as well as keeping your hair at a decent length. So once you pass those first few months, it's all about maintenance. And this is where I learned along the way of what to really do to get the best possible result. Now, I mentioned earlier about finasteride and minoxidil. I think those two things are very key in trying to get the best result possible. But along with that, there are definitely some extra vitamins, there's some shampoos that you can use, and there's even some hair oils that you can use. All of these are additional supplements to what you currently have. It's not a deal breaker if you're not doing every single thing every single day. I've made a bunch of videos about my current hair care routine, which you can follow as well. It's all linked below. But I think some of the very important things are taking the right vitamins, which is vitamin B, zinc, iron, and B complex. These vitamins are most proven to have ingredients that help with hair growth, and that's why I take them every single day. I do have a whole bunch of other things that I take. They're all listed in the description below. Check them out if you're interested, or check out the videos that I've posted about my full hair care routines. That's something that I've learned along the way, that some of these things are better and some of these things are not. So it depends on your scalp as well. You can try some of them out and hopefully it helps you in the long run. Another thing I learned was about consistency. Like I mentioned, maintenance is important, but consistency is 10 times more important. The thing is that even if you've decided to try every single supplement in the world and trying to take every little thing to make your hair grow back, if you're not consistent with it, you're never going to see results. And most of these medications and most of these vitamins take at least 6 months to really see some sort of advancement or some sort of growth level on your scalp. It's true that the transplanted hair will continuously grow, but to help boost them even further, you have to be consistent with everything else that you're taking. Another thing that I definitely want to teach other people out there based off of my experiences is that to always document your journey. I cannot stress this enough. It's definitely helped me see visually how much I've changed from the first day of getting the hair transplant up until today. I documented every single month that I had an update. It's been so useful, not just for me, but for everybody else out there who watches my channel. I can't stress enough how important it is to actually even take a couple of photos on your scalp and just save it in a folder. Month 1, month 2, month 3, and so on up until the month 12, and try to compare it to how you used to be and how it is now, and you can really tell where that difference lies of the transplanted area on whether it's growing or not. And if you feel like it's not, you can always pump up the level of your vitamins and your medications and then increase the consistency of that as well. It all works hand in hand together, but keep a track record of your results. And at the end of the day, you're only going to be the happiest person when you can see that difference and even show off to people like, hey, this was me before and this is me now. Like I said earlier, if you're preparing for a hair transplant or if you've already gotten one, I hope these tips have kind of helped you in a way to just understand it a little better and hopefully answer some of the questions you've had on your mind. Now, if you have even more questions to ask, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a hair transplant consultation service that you basically get to have a conversation with me one-on-one, and we talk about anything about your hair transplant, or if you're considering getting it, or if you're not sure which clinic, what aftercares to use. I have all the answers. Click the link below, book some time with me, and I'm happy to have that conversation with you. I've had these conversations with so many people. I've heard their stories so much, and I just love helping people, to be honest. This entire journey has been great to be able to help others who went through the same exact thing as me. So definitely consider booking some time, and I'm happy to have that conversation with you. If you've already had a hair transplant as well, why don't you comment below what you would do differently? I'd love to know. Maybe I've missed out some things, but if you have some other suggestions, do share it, and I'm sure everybody else would love to read it as well. All right, I think that's all for me for today, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Definitely like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys very, very soon in the next one. Peace.